Hey, what's up guys? Node Investor here. I wanted to do a quick update today on NEO. So I posted a video yesterday, and at the time the NEO charts were still split between Ant shares and NEO, so the chart didn't really offer a whole lot of value. It looks like that's finally been fixed. So I just wanted to follow up that video with a little technical analysis on NEO, let you know what I'm thinking. We've had a nice run up, and several of you have asked, hey, is it too late? Are we going to pull back? What's going on? So let's take a look at NEO. So here is the daily chart of NEO. You can see we had this really nice consolidation that we were all watching and just broke out beautifully. And since that breakout, and this was really on August 1st during the hard fork, how far did we run? So during that breakout, I mean, following that low point, we basically went up 160% since that. And 160% in essentially a week is a massive run, and so it's not unusual to see this pausing a little bit here, and I really expect this to just base out a little bit right now, just because it's had such a huge run. It needs to digest that move a little bit. I don't think it's in a crash per se, but definitely pulling back and kind of settling out a little bit here. A couple of areas to watch on the upside and the downside. Let's zoom in a little bit on the well, before I zoom in here, so here's what I always look at first is what were those prior resistance levels that have now become support. And so here would be a real solid one, right? And this is correlating somewhat with some of these moving averages, and then of course the old all-time high on the Bitcoin chart, and that's really where we ran up to and have been pausing a little bit around there. And that's not unusual. You tend to see that a lot, where hits these old highs and kind of just pulls back a little bit, and then decides to settle out and then have another leg up. And longer term, I do expect NEO to continue higher. The project is just doing a lot of good things, a lot of nice things in the work, doing some announcements. We've had a little bit of run up into that, so it's okay to see it pause here a little bit. It's kind of nice. So you don't want them to just go climactic like they did back here, because that tends to result in a sharp pullback and a really drawn out base. What you want to see a little bit more of a stair stepping, some rise, some pullback, some rise, and very constructive right now. So if we zoom in a little bit, take a closer look at this pullback. So looking at the breakout here, we can do a Fibonacci retracement and see if that offers any key levels of support. So if we do that and run it from the whole move up there, you can see this first level of support that I drew is correlating with this 61.8, right, the 61.8% Fibonacci, which is a key ratio. That also happens to correlate with this here, which would also act as another area of support. And so this whole area here would be very solid support. We haven't quite pulled back to that level, right? We saw it hit this moving average earlier today, and it's bouncing off of that a little bit. What I want to see it here is to clear this near-term resistance, and if it does that, then that probably was the low. This pullback was a nice place to take a look at it, because it held that moving average very well. And then if it puts in a lower high here and decides to turn around to the downside, I see this 0.004 to 0.0043 area just really acting as very solid support. That's going to be a good floor. If it does get that low, I certainly will be adding more at those levels. So what I would see, best case would be to see it just kind of base out here and maybe just consolidate and put in a little bit of a base as it consolidates this recent move and go sideways, at least for a couple of days, and kind of let this cool off and digest the move and let things normalize a little bit, let the moving averages catch up, and then go again. That's best case scenario. The market never does exactly what you want it to do, so we're just gonna have to keep an eye on this. I know there's a lot of demand and a lot of interest coming into NEO, and so we'll continue to see that. Now longer term, again, I expect this to go higher. I really think we'll see NEO in the next several months to year doing very well. But in the near term, we've had a big move. 160% up in a couple days is a huge move, and it needs to digest some of that. So it's kind of nice to see it base out here a little bit. One thing I want to talk about is I'm going to do a webinar here, and I'm going to talk about some sell signals and selling strategies that I use personally, and I'll record those and make those available to everyone. But one of the signals that I use is these big candles at the top of a move. And so in this case, right, you see NEO has the nice breakouts and then it rallies, and look at how steady and kind of controlled, right, that this move is, pulling back nice and steady. And after it's already gone up 96%, then it has this huge candle that takes it up another, you know, several percent, which basically puts it at 160, 170. And so at that point, it's exhausted. It needs to pull back. And so when I see these big candles at the top, especially if they're associated with big volume, it tends to be a warning, especially look how far off the 10 EMA came off of. And so that's one of the strategies that I use to either take some profits or start looking for a pullback or a new base to form if I want to get in at a secondary buy point. And so that's one thing I want to point out. NEO did that, right? So it had this nice big move, and then it had this final like mini climactic pop, and now it's pulling back a little bit, and that's fine, right? And you just need to see this base out a little bit. Let me zoom in on the 2-hour chart to see if that looks any different, and I'll go ahead and just kind of clear some of this stuff out for you guys so it cleans up the chart a little bit. So yeah, I mean, on the 2-hour chart, just looking really nice, and you can see the longer moving averages, it came right back to that 50 and just is holding that. So good sign. That may have been the pullback, and now it's going to just little base out here a little bit, and maybe that was the low. So time will tell. Again, the levels to watch on the upside, if we see it start to cross above this, then that most likely was the pullback, and we'll see another leg up. If this creates a lower high and we start to pull in, look for that level. Otherwise, this lower level that I talked about down here, which correlates with some of the support on the longer term charts. Going to coin market cap, I mean, let's take a quick look here. We're at $123 billion. Very nice. You know, we can't complain, right? Bitcoin 3,400, Ethereum near 300, Litecoin finally moving up. I'll take a look at that one here. And so we've had a very nice run since August 1st. So things are just really strong. I wouldn't be surprised if we pause a little bit here and digest some of these moves, but there's just things are just really strong right now. IOTA has been one of my favorites right here recently. 54 cents, just has a solid move off the low there. NEM still looking really strong here, pulling in a little bit, and so no complaining. And NEO is, it's the top 10 right now, and it's nearing that $1 billion club. So keep an eye on that, see if we can cross that. So let's take a look at Litecoin. So I mentioned yesterday in my video, Litecoin was underperforming Bitcoin. I had no complaints against Litecoin, but was just not ready, and I was kind of pointing out, until I see that turnaround, I'm probably not going to go heavy on Litecoin, and it looks like it's going to finally want to do that. So had this nice little base, and some of you guys were pointing this out on Twitter, and I just love to see that. You guys are learning, you guys are starting to spot bases, and you guys were sending them to me going, hey, is it you're seeing this too? And just great to see you guys learning. So keep up the good work. So yeah, we saw this nice little consolidation, and that followed a prior little base that it had here on Litecoin a couple days before that. And each time you just see it pop with some good volume, and then it kind of consolidates, and it had this nice volume pop, consolidate, and then today just really big volume off that little setup there. And if we zoom out to the dailies, the area that I had been watching that I really wanted it to see get above was this 47 area, and it's finally starting to clear that, and some volumes coming in. So that's a good sign. That had just really served as a little bit of a wall, and it kind of goes back to this area too, this 49. So we're getting there, and I'm thinking Litecoin's gonna have a nice little run up here, and maybe do a little catching up with Bitcoin and Ethereum. So if we go to the Litecoin Bitcoin chart, I had pointed out that had just been underperforming, bounces into this moving averages, underperform, bounces in, and I kind of said until we see that reverse, I'm not gonna get too heavy into Litecoin. And I'm thinking maybe today is that signal. Maybe we start seeing that reverse, and Litecoin starts to outperform Bitcoin a little bit. So we'll see. It's kind of tried to do that a couple of times here recently, but it's looking a lot more favorable this time. I'm thinking it's ready, and so Litecoin is looking good. That's going to be it for now, guys. Until next time, take care.